What's going on, everybody? You found Bottom Tier Collector, and I'm your host, The Bearded One. As always, thank you for liking, subscribing, commenting. It always means the world to me. First off, look at this immaculate collection on display. A run I've been chasing for several years now, since I got back into Space Ghost Coast to Coast. Just a few years ago, like when it came back with HBO Max, and I just fell in love with the show, and I binged all the way to season 5, and I think there's like 10 seasons, maybe even more than 10 seasons. And I was working my way through the show and just loved every bit of it. You know, the interactions between Space Ghost, Moltar, and Zorak, and wanted to come. When I got into Space Ghost, naturally the research came. What was his first appearance? Are there any Space Ghost runs? And this run in particular, from 2005, the DC Comics published the series, is pretty much the Space Ghost run. Now there's from 2017, 2018, somewhere in that range, DC put out for about a year, maybe a little more than a year, a Hanna-Barbera line, and Space Ghost is featured in the Future Quest line in that Hanna-Barbera movement. I am actually collecting that Future Quest line, and I think Space Ghost is in another line or two in that Hanna-Barbera movement they had a couple years ago. But this is, if you're a Space Ghost fan, you want this run, either in trade, or I can't imagine why you wouldn't want the singles. I mean, look at this fantastic art, right? The art is incredible. And I gotta say, I thought Alex Ross did the art. I mean, it's just that good. I mean, no disrespect to any artist, but I think all of us collectors out there that are familiar with Alex Ross' work, if we mistake your work for an Alex Ross work, it's actually a compliment, because he's just that good. He's he may not be in my top 5. I just feel like he's a little overplayed, Alex Ross, but that doesn't mean he's overrated or anything. He is one of the best. I get the hype. I mean, he's just a fantastic artist, and I thought these were Alex Ross covers, but I think they might actually be Ariel Olivetti covers. So Ariel Olivetti, very talented artist. I'd love to meet the guy one day. I'd love to meet Joe Kelley one day, if Joe Kelley's still alive. I don't know how old Joe Kelley is. I feel like Joe Kelley's an old head. I actually just finished reading the series. I read it in about an hour and 20 minutes, maybe a little less than that, maybe about an hour and 10 minutes, hour and 15 minutes, which is pretty quick for a 6-issue run, because my average reading time is 20 to 30 minutes a book. That's about how long it takes me to read most comic books, and this thing just read really fast. But I thought it was appropriate. There was enough dialogue in here to progress the story. There was enough character development here to develop Thaddeus Batch. I learned that his name is Thaddeus Batch in this comic book. They reference his name in Space Ghost Coast to Coast. He's called Thaddeus a couple times. So it seems like, I'm growing my fandom in Space Ghost, being only 34 years old. I'm not a child of the 60s, so I don't go way back with Space Ghost. So I'm just kind of learning about the character as I'm reading and watching the show and collecting comic books. But learned his name was Thaddeus Batch here, and I feel like, kind of the point I was getting to, I feel like the lore here is accurate to the original lore of Space Ghost. I don't feel like Joe Kelley took liberties with anything. I just think he painted a modern slap of paint on it, I guess is the metaphor I'm going for, the analogy I'm looking for. It's like the Space Ghost story, but it's modernized for 2005, I guess. Zorak is in the series as well. Zorak looks pretty different now. He still looks like a praying mantis, and his hive, the race that he comes from, all look mantis-like. You can spot Zorak in the comic book, but it looks nothing like the 60s or Coast to Coast cartoon iterations. And really, even the kids here in the back, I forget their name. And we don't see the monkey that travels with Space Ghost and his sidekicks, but we see how these two become sidekicks at the very end. So that was pretty cool to see how their journey in meeting Space Ghost comes to fruition. Joe Kelley didn't really show us how Space Ghost gets the suit. It's just kind of implied, and I just kind of like how, in today's world of decompressed storytelling, or in television right now with the franchises, everybody wants to go into these spin-offs and detail every single detail about a franchise, about a lore. Star Wars is doing a lot of that right now, filling in gaps in the storytelling. And there are gaps here. They don't detail too much, but it's implied. It's implied Thaddeus' wife dies. It's implied that he gets the suit from the alien he meets on the dead planet, if you will. Now, I do have some questions about the dead planet. What it's about, how he got there. Is Thaddeus a zombie, or is it the suit that gives him powers? Not exactly sure. There's this overarching metaphysical thing, just I don't want to say something real deep and profound, but there's like this base metaphysical message in the book about right and wrong, what justice actually is, things of that nature. Should you kill? Should you not? And then kind of under that, kind of more on the face value, it's just about Thaddeus' journey from being, I guess, a space cop to being transformed into Space Ghost, and initially starting out as kind of an anti-hero, actually a full-blown anti-hero. He shows up on the planet that the antagonist, the villain, the leader of Wrath, that it's an elite special forces group from the planet Thaddeus is from. The leader of this group betrayed Space Ghost when he started to question their motives on a secret mission. Betrayed Thaddeus, and it's implied he murdered his wife. And they beat him up and tortured him and left him for dead on the planet where he becomes Space Ghost. And so most of the story, he's hunting down the members of Wrath and comes to the planet in issue 3, I believe, to where the leader is. And he's not there to save the people of the planet. He's there to kill. He's known as Temple to the Zorathians, which is Zorak. They're known as the Zorathians. And that is his sole mission, is to defeat Temple. And as he comes across the two kids, of course, it's kind of generic, but I liked it. It's really good because it's Space Ghost. You know, I want to see him get the suit, and I want to see him f stuff up. Pretty much, you know. I'm just gonna keep it kid friendly here, so the kids can watch this Space Ghost review. But I want to see him mess stuff up, right? I want to see him kick butt. I want to see him shoot the laser gun glove things, the plasma beams, or whatever he shoots out of his gloves. That's really what I want to see, right? I mean, you see all these wonderful covers. You don't want to see a lot of character development. But yeah, he meets the two kids, and they soften him up a little bit. And right at the end, he decides to save the planet. And at the end, I don't want to spoil the plot twist, even though this is an 18-year-old story. I'll let you enjoy the plot twist for yourself if you decide to read the story. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't want to go over every detail again. I want you guys to enjoy the story like I did. If you're a Space Ghost fan, I give this story, you know, I don't rate comic books. I used to back in the day. But if I were to rate this comic book, it would be a perfect score. Fantastic read. The pacing is perfect for this kind of character. You know, because everybody knows Space Ghost from the cartoons and the 60s. And you're not coming to Space Ghost for, you know, a 12-issue, decompressed, very deep, very profound comic book. You're just wanting to see how Thaddeus evolves into Space Ghost and him saving a planet or something. And that's really what you get. You get your meat and potatoes, and it's done in a great way. Joe Kelley still puts enough layers in there. The story is still dynamic enough. And then pair that with the fantastic art that, again, I confused with Alex Ross. And that is the ultimate compliment. I cannot say enough about this series. It's just increased my fervor for Space Ghost. You know, in the future, once you know I've got the room where I want it. You know, and I'm ready to start decorating the room a little more. I'm definitely going to be tracking down like Space Ghost toys. Yeah, I'm just incredible experience. Little man's here. Alright, I'll help you with your eye in just a minute.
It makes me heal up.
Alright, I'll come downstairs and help you out in just a second. I'm going to get off here. Got to go be a dad. Till next time, guys.